Sometimes, life feels like an endless storm. But what if I told you that even in the darkest clouds, there's always a silver lining? Welcome back to Stoic Reflections, where we explore timeless wisdom to navigate life's challenges. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches us all: pain. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, failure, or heartbreak, pain is an inevitable part of life. But here's the good news: there are ways to overcome it. In this video, we'll uncover 8 powerful strategies rooted in Stoic philosophy to help you heal, grow, and find meaning in your struggles. Let's embark on this journey together and discover how to transform pain into strength. First, acceptance, the foundation of healing. The first step toward overcoming pain is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean surrendering or giving up. Rather, it means acknowledging that suffering is an inherent part of life. When we accept our pain, we stop resisting our emotions and begin the healing process. By embracing our feelings without judgment, we free ourselves from societal pressures and unrealistic expectations. As the Vietnamese saying goes, failure is the mother of success. Each fall teaches us resilience, and it's not the failures themselves, but how we respond to them that defines who we are. Acceptance empowers us to face reality head-on and lays the groundwork for personal transformation. Acceptance isn't just about recognizing pain, it's about understanding its role in shaping us. For instance, when we lose someone dear, acceptance allows us to grieve fully and honor their memory. It helps us process emotions instead of suppressing them, which can lead to long-term healing. Acceptance also reminds us that imperfection is part of the human experience. No one escapes life unscathed, but it's our response to adversity that truly matters. By accepting pain, we open the door to growth and self-discovery. Second, seek support, strength in connection. No one is an island. During tough times, leaning on others can make all the difference. Reaching out to family, friends, or trusted confidants helps lighten the emotional load and fosters a sense of belonging. In Vietnamese culture, family plays a pivotal role in providing comfort and strength during hardships. Sharing meals, listening to elders' advice, or simply being present with loved ones can alleviate loneliness and reinforce inner fortitude. Additionally, seeking professional support from psychologists or counselors equips us with tools to manage pain effectively. Therapy offers a safe space to express emotions, gain perspective, and develop coping mechanisms. Group therapy or support groups can also be invaluable, as they connect us with individuals who understand our struggles firsthand. Remember, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a testament to your courage and willingness to heal. Building a network of support ensures you're never alone in your journey. Third, discover meaning, finding light in darkness. One of the most effective ways to transcend pain is by discovering its deeper purpose. Renowned psychologist Viktor Frankl once said, "To live is to find meaning in everything, even in suffering." When we extract meaning from our trials, we transform them into opportunities for growth. Start small, help someone in need, volunteer for community service, or pursue hobbies that bring joy. These actions infuse life with purpose and gradually diminish the weight of sorrow. Finding meaning doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it's about appreciating the little things: a kind word, a shared laugh, or a moment of quiet reflection. Meaning can also come from within, through introspection and self-awareness. Ask yourself, what lessons can I learn from this experience? How can I use this pain to become a better version of myself? By focusing on purpose, we shift our mindset from victimhood to empowerment, paving the way for lasting change. Fourth, self-care, restoring balance within. During challenging phases, prioritizing self-care is non-negotiable. This encompasses both physical and mental well-being. Take time to rest, indulge in activities that spark happiness, and nurture your body through exercise and proper nutrition. Simple pleasures like reading a book, listening to music, or taking a walk in nature can significantly uplift your mood. Practices such as yoga, meditation, or light workouts not only reduce stress but also cultivate positivity and energy. Self-care is more than pampering, it's about creating habits that sustain long-term resilience. Establish routines that promote relaxation and mindfulness, such as journaling or practicing gratitude. Pay attention to your sleep patterns, hydration, and diet, as these factors directly impact your emotional state. When you prioritize self-care, you send a message to yourself that you matter. This act of self-love builds confidence and reinforces your ability to handle adversity. Fifth, learn from pain, turning challenges into opportunities. Every hardship carries invaluable lessons if we approach it with the right mindset. Instead of succumbing to despair, view pain as a catalyst for self-improvement. For instance, losing something precious might teach you to cherish the little things in life. Experiencing failure could prompt you to reassess your goals and adopt better strategies. Each obstacle you overcome makes you wiser, stronger, and more adaptable. Learning from pain requires patience and reflection. Take time to analyze what went wrong and identify areas for improvement. Use setbacks as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Celebrate small victories along the way, as they signify progress. By reframing pain as a teacher, you unlock its transformative power and emerge stronger than before. Sixth, live in the present, freeing yourself from past and future. Much of our suffering stems from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. To heal, we must learn to live fully in the present moment. Mindfulness techniques, such as meditation and deep breathing, help anchor us in the now. By focusing on what's happening right here, right now, we reduce anxiety and cultivate peace of mind. Dedicate a few minutes each day to observe your surroundings, listen to the sounds around you, and appreciate the beauty in everyday moments. Presence brings clarity and rejuvenates your spirit. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or neglecting the future. It means acknowledging them without letting them consume you. Practice gratitude for past experiences and plan wisely for the future, but always return to the present moment. This balance fosters contentment and reduces the burden of regret or fear. Seventh, practice gratitude, finding joy in simplicity. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to pain. By shifting your focus to the positives in life, you can replace sadness with happiness and optimism. Keep a gratitude journal and write down 3 things you're thankful for daily, even seemingly insignificant details, like a sunny day or a kind gesture from a stranger. Gratitude reminds you that despite life's difficulties, there's always something worth celebrating. Practicing gratitude strengthens relationships and enhances overall well-being. It encourages kindness and compassion, both toward yourself and others. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you cultivate abundance and fulfillment. Gratitude transforms your perspective, helping you see challenges as temporary and surmountable. Eighth, embrace change, growing through adversity. Life is constantly evolving, and embracing change is crucial for overcoming pain. While change can be intimidating, it also presents opportunities for self-discovery and growth. View transitions as chances to explore new facets of yourself and broaden your horizons. Adaptability is key to thriving in uncertain times. Approach challenges with a positive attitude and an open mind, knowing that every shift contributes to your evolution. Change often forces us out of our comfort zones, pushing us to develop new skills and perspectives. Embrace discomfort as a sign of growth and trust in your ability to adapt. By welcoming change, you position yourself for success and fulfillment, no matter what life throws your way. Lan's story, a beacon of hope. Let me share Lan's inspiring journey. After losing her mother, a pillar of love and strength, to illness, Lan was consumed by grief and confusion. Initially, she denied the reality of her loss, clinging to routines to mask her pain. However, over time, she realized denial wasn't sustainable. She began accepting her emotions, allowing herself to cry, journal memories, and confront her feelings honestly. Seeking connection, Lan reached out to her sister nightly, sharing stories about their mother. These conversations not only eased her sorrow but also strengthened familial bonds. To find meaning, Lan volunteered at a Tansa support organization, channeling her pain into helping others facing similar struggles. She also passed on her mother's values to her daughter, ensuring her legacy lived on. Through self-care practices like yoga and reading, Lan regained balance and serenity. Her story exemplifies how acceptance, support, purpose, and self-compassion can guide us through life's darkest hours. Pain is not the end, it's merely a chapter in the book of life. Every challenge holds a lesson, and every trial offers a chance to evolve. By embracing acceptance, seeking support, uncovering meaning, practicing self-care, and believing in your potential, you can rise above adversity and rediscover joy. Life is a tapestry woven with highs and lows, and it's often in the shadows that we truly appreciate the light. Stay strong, stay resilient, because no matter how much life hurts, you possess the power to heal and move forward. Before we wrap up, let's keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts in the comments below how you dealt with life's challenges. And don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Reflections for more insights on navigating life's complexities. Up next, stay tuned for an engaging discussion between Oliver and Sophia, where they'll delve deeper into the art of resilience and emotional intelligence. See you there.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring how to overcome pain. Using the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy, we've got some really fascinating material that outlines 8 powerful strategies, really for turning your struggles into strengths. It's like discovering a treasure chest of resilience tools, hidden in plain sight for centuries. I'm particularly excited to talk about a story about a woman named Lan, who used these Stoic principles to cope with the loss of her mother. Her experience really highlights how these ideas can be applied in real life.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is that these Stoic concepts, they're not just about enduring hardship with a stiff upper lip. They're really about understanding the nature of pain and using it as a catalyst for growth and transformation.
So it's not about suppressing our emotions, but rather about working with them in a constructive way.
Exactly. And that starts with the first Stoic principle, acceptance. Now, this doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to misery. It's about acknowledging that pain is a natural part of life. Just like we experience joy, love, and excitement, we're also going to experience loss, disappointment, and grief. It's about recognizing that fighting against this reality, it only creates more suffering.
That makes sense. If we're constantly trying to deny or resist our pain, we're essentially prolonging it. It's like trying to ignore a physical injury. It's not going to heal properly unless we address it.
Precisely. And here's where things get really interesting. The Stoics developed a technique called negative visualization to help them cultivate acceptance. It involves imagining the worst-case scenario in vivid detail. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but it actually helps us appreciate what we have and prepare for potential setbacks.
Wow, I've never heard of that before. So instead of dwelling on our fears, we're actually confronting them head on.
Yes. By mentally rehearsing for potential challenges, we build emotional resilience. It's like training for a marathon. The more we prepare, the less daunting the actual race becomes.
That's a brilliant analogy. Okay, so we've acknowledged the pain. Now what? Do we just sit there and wallow in it?
Not at all. The Stoics emphasize the importance of seeking support during difficult times. And this isn't just about finding a shoulder to cry on. It's about actively engaging with others who can offer different perspectives, encouragement, and practical advice.
It's like that old saying, 2 heads are better than 1. Sometimes we just need someone to help us see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. And remember, asking for help, It's not a sign of weakness. It takes courage to admit that we need support, and it demonstrates a willingness to learn and grow.
It's like admitting that we don't have all the answers, which can be humbling, but also empowering.
Now, the next principle is particularly powerful: finding meaning in suffering. This is where Viktor Frankl's quote comes in. To live is to find meaning in everything, even in suffering. The Stoics believe that even in the darkest of times, there are opportunities for growth and learning.
It's not about pretending that the pain isn't there, but rather about finding a way to make it meaningful. This makes me think about the Vietnamese saying, failure is the mother of success. It's not the falling down, it's the getting back up that matters.
That's a great connection. It's about shifting our perspective from seeing pain as a purely negative experience to seeing it as a potential catalyst for transformation. Imagine a sculptor working with a block of stone, the chisel, which causes the stone to break apart. Is also what shapes the final masterpiece.
So our struggles can actually shape us into something stronger and more beautiful. I love that image. It makes the whole idea of embracing pain seem a little less daunting.
Exactly. And this leads us to another crucial Stoic principle: self-care. It's not just about bubble baths and face masks. Those can be lovely. It's about taking care of your physical and mental well-being, especially during difficult times.
So things like eating nutritious foods, getting enough sleep, and exercising regularly are all part of self-care.
Absolutely. And it's also about engaging in activities that nourish your soul. Reading, listening to music, spending time in nature. These are all ways to replenish your energy and cultivate inner peace.
I've noticed that when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, taking a walk in the woods really helps to clear my head and calm my nerves. It's like nature has this incredible ability to ground us and remind us of the bigger picture.
I agree. And, self-care is often seen as a luxury, but the Stoics considered it a fundamental part of living a virtuous life.
It's about recognizing that we deserve to take care of ourselves, even when we feel like we don't have the time or energy.
Now, building on that, the Stoics encourage us to view pain not just as something to endure, but as an opportunity for learning and growth. It's about analyzing our setbacks, identifying our weaknesses, and figuring out how we can improve.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But with a more proactive approach, we're not just passively enduring hardship, we're actively learning from it.
That's a great way to put it. Imagine an athlete who experiences a setback, like an injury. Instead of giving up, they analyze what happened, adjust their training regimen, and come back even stronger. They use the experience to refine their technique and push their limits.
So in a way, setbacks can actually help us to achieve greater levels of success. It's like we're turning our pain into fuel for progress.
That's the idea. And this leads us to another crucial principle: living in the present moment. The Stoics believe that much of our suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
It's like we're constantly replaying old hurts or anticipating future disasters instead of focusing on what's happening right now.
Exactly. And they developed a set of techniques to help cultivate present moment awareness, like mindfulness and meditation. Even something as simple as paying attention to your breath can help you become more grounded in the present moment.
So instead of letting our minds race ahead or dwell on the past, we're learning to focus on the here and now. It's like we're training our minds to be more present and less reactive.
That's the goal. It's not about ignoring the past or future, but rather about finding a balance. It's about being fully present, where you are right now.
That makes sense. And I think this ties in with the next principle, practicing gratitude. When we're grateful for what we have, even the small things, it's easier to stay present and appreciate the good in our lives.
I completely agree. Gratitude is like a muscle that we can strengthen with practice, and the more we cultivate it, the more we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have.
The source actually suggests keeping a gratitude journal, writing down things we're thankful for each day. I've tried it before, and it really does help you to focus on the positive, even when things are tough.
It's a powerful tool for shifting our perspective and cultivating a more optimistic outlook on life.
And speaking of perspective, embracing change is another key Stoic principle.
Right.
It can be scary to let go of the familiar, but it's also essential for growth.
Think of it like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. It's a process of change and ultimately leads to something beautiful.
Exactly. Transitions are opportunities for self-discovery and development.
Now, remember Lan's story we mentioned earlier? Her experience coping with the loss of her mother really brings all of these Stoic principles to life. Let me tell you a bit about her journey.
This is where it gets really powerful.
So after losing her mother, Lan was understandably overwhelmed with grief. At first, she tried to deny her pain, clinging to routines, as a way to avoid facing her emotions.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It's just going to pop back up eventually.
Exactly. So Lan began to accept her emotions, allowing herself to grieve openly. She started journaling about her memories and really confronting her feelings, honestly.
That must have taken incredible courage.
It did. And she didn't go through it alone, seeking support. She reached out to her sister every night, sharing stories about their mother. These conversations not only helped ease her sorrow, but also strengthened their bond as sisters.
It's a beautiful example of how sharing our burdens with others can make them lighter.
It really is. And Lan didn't stop there. She wanted to find meaning in her experience, so she started volunteering at a cancer support organization. By channeling her pain into helping others facing similar struggles, she found a sense of purpose. She also made sure to pass on her mother's values to her daughter, ensuring her legacy lived on.
That's so inspiring. It shows how even in the darkest of times, we can find ways to make a difference.
Absolutely. And Lan didn't neglect her own well-being either. She incorporated self-care practices, like yoga and reading, into her routine, which helps her regain balance and serenity.
It sounds like Lan truly embodied these Stoic principles. Her story is a testament to their power in real life.
It truly is. Lan's journey highlights how we can apply these ancient ideas to navigate even the most challenging experiences.
And it reminds us that healing and growth are possible, even after profound loss.
It also shows how each of these strategies can work together, supporting each other. Acceptance paves the way for seeking support, which can help us find meaning, and so on.
It's like they're all pieces of a puzzle,
Yeah.
fitting together to create a picture of resilience.
And you know, the beauty of these Stoic strategies is that you can start implementing them right now, no matter where you are in your journey.
Even small steps can make a big difference. But where do we start? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It can feel overwhelming to know where to begin, especially when you're already feeling overwhelmed by whatever challenge you're facing.
Yeah, I hear you. The beauty of these Stoic principles is that they can be adapted to your individual needs and circumstances. You don't have to tackle everything at once. You can choose one or two strategies that resonate with you most and start experimenting. Maybe journaling about what you're grateful for feels doable. Or perhaps focusing on being more present during your morning coffee is a good starting point.
So it's like creating a personalized resilience toolkit. We can pick and choose the tools that feel most useful for our current situation.
Exactly. And remember, it's a process, not a destination. You're not going to master these principles overnight. There will be days when you struggle to apply them. And that's okay. The important thing is to keep practicing and to be kind to yourself along the way.
This reminds me of something I've been trying to work on, living more in the present. My mind tends to race with to-do lists and worries, and I often find myself dwelling on past mistakes. It's exhausting.
Yeah, that's a common experience. And it's something the Stoics were very aware of. They believed that much of our suffering comes from our thoughts, not necessarily from external events.
So it's not the situation itself that causes us pain, but rather our interpretation of it.
Precisely. And this is where Stoic practices, like mindfulness and meditation, can be incredibly helpful. They're not about emptying your mind or becoming some kind of Zen master. It's about training your attention to stay present and to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
I've tried meditation before, but I always get frustrated. When my mind wanders, I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
That's totally normal. The key is to simply notice when your mind has wandered and gently guide it back to your breath or whatever anchor you're focusing on. It's like training a puppy. It takes patience and repetition.
That's a reassuring way to think about it. So it's not about achieving some kind of perfect state of mindfulness, but rather about cultivating a more gentle and accepting awareness of our thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to step back from your thoughts and observe them without getting swept away by them. This can be especially helpful when you're experiencing difficult emotions, like anxiety or sadness.
So instead of being consumed by our emotions, we're learning to create some distance between ourselves and those feelings. That sounds incredibly helpful for dealing with pain and stress. Are there any other techniques that can help with this?
Absolutely. Another practice the Stoics emphasized was mindful breathing. It's such a simple yet powerful tool for calming the nervous system and bringing yourself back to the present moment. Just taking a few deep, conscious breaths can have a profound effect on your mental and emotional state.
Okay, can we try that right now? I could use a little grounding.
Sure. Let's take a few moments to focus on our breath. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you like. And gently inhale through your nose, feeling your belly expand. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, noticing how your body relaxes with each breath.
This is so calming. I can already feel my shoulders relaxing.
That's great. You can use this technique anytime you feel overwhelmed or stressed, like a mini vacation for your mind and body. And speaking of connecting with the present moment, I think this ties in beautifully with the Stoic principle of embracing change.
Oh, I see the connection. How so?
Well, think about it. The present moment is the only thing we truly have control over. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. By focusing on the now, we're accepting that change is inevitable and learning to flow with it, rather than resisting it.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change.
Exactly. And the more we resist change, the more we suffer. It's like trying to swim upstream against a powerful current. It's exhausting and ultimately futile.
So how can we learn to embrace change more readily? Because it's definitely easier said than done, especially when it comes to unexpected or unwanted changes.
It's about reframing our mindset. Instead of viewing change as a threat, we can try to see it as an adventure, a chance to learn and grow. It's like choosing to see the glass as half full instead of half empty. We can either focus on the potential losses or the potential gains that come with change.
I love that analogy. It's like choosing to focus on the possibilities rather than the limitations. But how do we actually do that when faced with difficult changes?
One helpful technique is to ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Even if the change feels negative at first, there's always something to be gained, whether it's a new perspective, a strengthened resilience, or a deeper understanding of yourself.
It's like turning lemons into lemonade. Instead of dwelling on the sourness, we're finding ways to create something sweet and refreshing.
Precisely. And remember, change doesn't have to be drastic or overwhelming. It can be as simple as trying a new hobby, learning a new skill, or even just changing up your daily routine.
Small steps can lead to big transformations. I've found that even making small changes, like trying a new recipe or taking a different route to work, can shake things up and create a sense of novelty and excitement.
Exactly. It's about being open to new experiences and possibilities, even in the midst of challenging times. And, embracing change also involves cultivating a sense of gratitude.
Oh, I see how those two connect. When we're grateful for what we have, even the small things, it's easier to let go of the past and embrace the unknown.
Absolutely. Gratitude helps us to shift our focus from what we lack to what we have, which can be incredibly empowering during times of transition.
And this source we're deep diving into suggests a powerful practice for cultivating gratitude. Keeping a gratitude journal?
It's such a simple yet effective practice. By taking a few moments each day to write down what we're thankful for, we're essentially training our minds to notice the good in our lives.
I've tried it before, and it's amazing how it can shift your perspective. You start to see the world through a more appreciative lens, even when things are tough. And speaking of tough times, another key Stoic principle for navigating challenges is seeking support. We talked about this earlier, but I think it's worth emphasizing again, because it can be so hard to reach out for help when we're struggling.
Absolutely. There's often a stigma associated with seeking help, especially in certain cultures. We might feel like we need to be strong and stoic, like we should be able to handle everything on our own. But the Stoics themselves recognize the importance of human connection and the power of community.
It's like that saying, no man is an island. We're all interconnected, and we need each other to thrive.
Exactly. And sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is admit that we need help and reach out to others for support. This could involve talking to friends and family, joining a support group, or seeking professional guidance from a therapist or counselor.
And it's important to remember that there's no shame in seeking professional help. Therapists are trained to provide support and tools for navigating difficult emotions and experiences. They can offer a safe and non-judgmental space to process our feelings and develop healthier coping mechanisms.
I completely agree. Seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows that we're committed to our well-being and willing to take the necessary steps to heal and grow.
And sometimes we need a little extra support to navigate those tough times. It's like having a guide to help us through a challenging hike.
That's a great analogy. Now, speaking of challenges, I want to circle back to the Stoic principle of learning from pain, because it's so easy to get caught up in the negative emotions and lose sight of the potential for growth.
I think we often view pain as something to be avoided or minimized, rather than something that can teach us valuable lessons.
The Stoics, on the other hand, believe that pain is an inevitable part of life, and that we can actually use it to our advantage. They saw challenges as opportunities to strengthen our character, refine our values, and develop greater resilience.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. But it's not just about passively enduring hardship. It's about actively reflecting on our experiences, identifying areas for improvement, and making adjustments to our approach.
So instead of getting stuck in self-pity or blame, we're using our challenges to learn and grow. It's like turning our setbacks into stepping stones. I'm curious, how did Lon approach this principle of learning from pain? Did she see her experience as a catalyst for growth and transformation?
Well, for Lan, her grief journey was a profound teacher. It forced her to confront some difficult truths about herself and her life. It challenged her beliefs and pushed her to her limits. But through it all, she maintained a remarkable openness to learning and growth.
So she didn't shy away from the pain or try to suppress it. She embraced it as a catalyst for transformation.
Exactly. And one of the biggest lessons she learned was the importance of cherishing the present moment. Having lost her mother so suddenly, she realized that life is precious and that tomorrow is never guaranteed.
It's a stark reminder that we need to make the most of the time we have with our loved ones and to appreciate the simple joys of everyday life.
It is, and Lan made a conscious effort to live more intentionally. After her mother's death, she started savoring the small moments, expressing her love more freely, and pursuing her passions with greater zeal.
It's like her grief awakened, a deeper sense of gratitude and appreciation for life.
It did. And she also learned the importance of letting go of grudges and resentments. She realized that life is too short to hold on to negativity, and she made a conscious effort to forgive those who had hurt her in the past.
It's about releasing the heavy baggage we carry so we can move forward with greater lightness and peace.
Exactly. And learning from pain also involves being honest with ourselves about our weaknesses and areas where we need to grow. It's not about beating ourselves up or dwelling on our mistakes. It's about using those experiences to become more self-aware and to make positive changes.
That's a really important distinction. It's not about dwelling on the negative, but rather about using our experiences as fuel for growth. And speaking of growth, I think it's time to circle back to Lan's story and delve a bit deeper into how she embodied these Stoic principles in her life.
I agree. Her journey offers some valuable insights into how we can apply these ideas in practical ways.
Okay, let's rewind back to the beginning of Lan's journey. After losing her mother, she initially tried to deny her pain. Can you talk a bit more about this phase and how it relates to the Stoic principle of acceptance?
Sure. After her mother's passing, Lan was understandably in shock and disbelief. It's common for people to experience a period of denial after a significant loss, as it's a way of protecting ourselves from the overwhelming pain of grief.
It's like our minds need time to catch up with the reality of what's happened.
Exactly. And during this initial phase, Lan tried to maintain a sense of normalcy by clinging to her daily routines. She went to work, took care of her family, and tried to keep busy, all in an effort to avoid confronting her grief head-on. It's a common coping mechanism, but the Stoics would argue that it's ultimately unsustainable.
Because the pain is still there, simmering beneath the surface.
Precisely. And eventually Lan realized that her attempts to deny her grief were only prolonging her suffering. She was exhausted from pretending everything was okay, and the unprocessed emotions were starting to take a toll on her well-being.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Eventually it's going to pop back up, no matter how hard you try to keep it submerged.
That's a great analogy. And that's exactly what happened with Lan. The more she tried to suppress her grief, the more intense it became. She started experiencing anxiety, sleeplessness, and difficulty concentrating.
It sounds like she reached a breaking point where she could no longer deny the reality of her loss.
Exactly. And that's when she began to embrace the Stoic principle of acceptance.
So how did she make that shift? From denial to acceptance, what did that look like for her?
Well, it started with a conscious decision to acknowledge her pain. She stopped trying to pretend everything was fine and allowed herself to feel the full weight of her grief.
That must have been incredibly difficult, but also incredibly liberating.
It was both. She started crying more often, allowing the tears to flow freely. Instead of holding them back, she began journaling about her memories of her mother, both the happy and the sad ones. And she started talking more openly about her grief with her sister and other trusted loved ones.
It sounds like she created a space for her grief to exist instead of trying to push it away.
Exactly. And by doing so, she began to heal. The Stoics believed that acceptance is not about giving up or resigning ourselves to suffering. It's about acknowledging the reality of our situation so that we can move forward with greater clarity and purpose.
It's like clearing the debris from a wound so that it can begin to heal properly. We can't move on if we're still trying to pretend the injury isn't there.
Precisely. And for Lan, acceptance paved the way for other Stoic principles to take root in her life.
So how did she begin to incorporate the principle of seeking support?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Lan started talking more openly about her grief. With her sister, they made a pact to call each other every night and share stories about their mother, both funny and heartwarming. These conversations became a source of comfort and strength for both of them, reminding them that they weren't alone in their grief.
It's a beautiful example of how sharing our burdens with others can make them lighter.
It really is. And Lan also found support in unexpected places. She started attending a grief support group where she connected with others who had experienced similar losses. Sharing her story and listening to the stories of others helped her feel less isolated and gave her a sense of community.
It's amazing how even in our darkest moments, we can find solace and connection with others who understand what we're going through.
Absolutely. And for Lan, seeking support wasn't just about finding comfort. It was also about finding strength. The Stoics believed that we're not meant to go through life's challenges alone. We need each other to lean on, to learn from, and to remind us of our own strength and resilience.
And sometimes seeking support means reaching out to professionals who can provide guidance and tools for navigating difficult emotions.
Exactly. There's no shame in asking for help, whether it's from a therapist, counselor, or a support group. In fact, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness.
It shows that we're committed to our well-being and willing to take the necessary steps to heal and grow.
Now let's move on to the principle of finding meaning, which can be a particularly challenging, but also incredibly rewarding aspect of healing from loss. How did Lan find meaning in the midst of her grief?
This is where it gets really interesting. Tell us more about Lan's journey of finding meaning.
Well, for Lan, finding meaning wasn't about trying to make sense of her mother's death or find a silver lining in the tragedy. It was about honoring her mother's memory and living a life that would make her proud.
It's like turning her grief into a source of inspiration and motivation.
Exactly. And one way Lan did this was by channeling her pain into helping others. She started volunteering at a local cancer support organization where she provided companionship and emotional support to patients and their families.
That's so inspiring. She took her own experience of loss and used it to make a difference in the lives of others. It's like she transformed her grief into a source of strength and healing, not just for herself, but for others as well.
She did. And through her volunteer work, Lan found a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. It wasn't about erasing her grief, but about finding a way to honor her mother's memory by making a positive impact on the world. She also made a conscious effort to pass on her mother's values to her own daughter, ensuring that her legacy lived on.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's not about forgetting or moving on, but about finding ways to keep those we've lost alive in our hearts and actions. And it sounds like for Lan, finding meaning wasn't just about grand gestures or outward actions. It was also about those smaller, everyday moments of joy and gratitude.
You're absolutely right. Lan started making a conscious effort to notice the beauty around her, whether it was a stunning sunset, a blooming flower, or a simple act of kindness from a stranger. She started keeping a gratitude journal where she would write down 3 things she was grateful for each day. And she started spending more time in nature, finding solace and peace in the tranquility of the outdoors.
It sounds like she was intentionally cultivating a more positive and appreciative outlook on life. Those small shifts in perspective can make such a big difference in how we experience the world, especially when we're going through difficult times.
Absolutely. And, this idea of finding meaning in the everyday moments ties in beautifully with the Stoic principle of living in the present. When we're fully present in the moment, we're more likely to notice those good things, to appreciate the simple pleasures, and to connect with a sense of peace and gratitude.
It's like hitting the pause button on our worries and to-do lists and simply allowing ourselves to be fully present in the here and now, which can be so challenging in our fast-paced, always-on world.
It is. But the Stoics believe that cultivating present moment awareness is essential for living a fulfilling and meaningful life. And for Lan, living in the present wasn't about ignoring her grief or pretending that everything was okay. It was about finding moments of stillness and peace amidst the chaos of her emotions. It was about savoring the small joys and appreciating the simple beauty of life, even in the midst of loss.
It's about finding those pockets of peace and joy, even when life feels overwhelming. And it sounds like Lon did this through practices like meditation, spending time in nature, and simply being more mindful in her daily activities.
Exactly. She found that by focusing on her breath, on the sensations in her body, and on the world around her, she could create a sense of calm and groundedness that helped her navigate the ups and downs of her grief journey.
It's like she was creating a sanctuary within herself, a place where she could find refuge and renewal. And that's something we can all cultivate regardless of our circumstances. Speaking of which, I think it's important to highlight the Stoic principle of self-care, because it's so easy to neglect our own needs when we're going through difficult times.
Absolutely. Self-care is often seen as a luxury, but the Stoics considered it a fundamental part of living a virtuous life. They believe that taking care of our physical, emotional, and mental well-being is essential for cultivating wisdom, resilience, and virtue.
And it's not selfish to prioritize our own needs. In fact, it allows us to show up more fully for ourselves and for others. How did Lan prioritize her own well-being during this difficult time? What did self-care look like for her?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Lan incorporated practices like yoga and reading into her routine. These activities provided her with a much-needed outlet for stress relief and relaxation. But for Lan, self-care wasn't just about indulging in pleasurable activities. It was about making conscious choices to nourish her body, mind, and spirit.
It's about treating ourselves with kindness and compassion, recognizing that we deserve to feel good even when life throws us curveballs. It's about filling our own cups so we have something to pour from.
Exactly. And Lan made a conscious effort to eat healthy foods, get enough sleep, and move her body regularly. She also made time for activities that brought her joy, such as spending time in nature, listening to music, and connecting with loved ones.
It sounds like she created a holistic approach to self-care, addressing her physical, emotional, and social needs. It's a reminder that self-care isn't just about pampering ourselves, it's about taking care of ourselves on all levels. And, this idea of self-care ties in beautifully with the Stoic principle of learning from pain. When we prioritize our own well-being, we're better equipped to face challenges, learn from our experiences, and grow as individuals.
I completely agree. When we're feeling depleted and exhausted, it's much harder to approach challenges with a clear mind and a resilient spirit. Self-care gives us the energy and resources we need to navigate those tough times and emerge stronger on the other side.
So how did Lan approach the idea of learning from her pain? Did she see her experience as a catalyst for growth and transformation?
She did. Lan recognized that her grief journey, while incredibly painful, was also an opportunity for profound learning and personal growth. She didn't shy away from the difficult emotions or try to suppress them. Instead, she allowed herself to feel them fully, to process them, and to learn from them.
It sounds like she embraced the idea that pain can be a powerful teacher, even if it's a lesson we'd rather not have to learn. But how did she actually apply the lessons she learned from her grief? Did it lead to any tangible changes in her life?
Well, for Lam, the biggest lesson she learned was the importance of cherishing the present moment. Having lost her mother so suddenly, she realized that life is precious and that tomorrow is never guaranteed. She became acutely aware of the fleeting nature of time and the importance of making the most of each day.
It's a reminder that we often take for granted the people we love and the experiences we have, assuming that we'll always have more time. Lan's experience is a powerful wake-up call to appreciate the present moment and to express our love and gratitude more freely.
Exactly. And Lan made a conscious effort to live more intentionally after her mother's death. She started savoring the small moments, expressing her love more freely, and pursuing her passions with greater zeal. She no longer wanted to waste time on things that didn't matter or to put off her dreams for someday.
It's like her grief awakened a deeper sense of purpose and a renewed appreciation for the preciousness of life. She was determined to make her mother proud and to live a life that honored her memory.
She was. And she also learned the importance of letting go of grudges and resentments. She realized that life is too short to hold on to negativity, and she made a conscious effort to forgive those who had hurt her in the past. This wasn't about condoning their actions, but about freeing herself from the burden of anger and resentment.
It's about recognizing that holding on to anger and bitterness only hurts us in the end. It doesn't change the past, and it prevents us from experiencing peace and joy in the present.
Exactly. And Lan also learned the importance of being true to herself and living a life that aligned with her values. She realized that life is too short to waste time on things that don't bring her joy or fulfill her purpose. She started prioritizing her own needs, setting boundaries, and making choices that reflected her authentic self.
It's like her grief inspired her to live more authentically and to pursue her passions more boldly. It's a reminder that sometimes it takes a major life event to shake us out of our complacency and inspire us to live more fully and intentionally.
It does. And this brings us to the final Stoic principle we'll explore: embracing change. How did Lan embody this principle in her life?
Well, Lon's entire grief journey was a testament to her ability to adapt to change. She went through a profound transformation, both emotionally and spiritually. She learned to navigate a new reality without her mother, to find new sources of strength and support, and to create a new sense of purpose and meaning in her life.
She did. And while change can be daunting, Lan recognized that it's also an inevitable part of life. The Stoics believe that resisting change only creates more suffering. Instead, they encouraged embracing change as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change.
Exactly. And for Lan, embracing change wasn't about erasing her grief or forgetting her mother. It was about honoring her memory by living a life that reflected the lessons she had learned and the values she had instilled in her.
It's about carrying the torch of her mother's love and wisdom forward into the future.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And Lan's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit to adapt, to heal, and to grow, even in the face of profound loss. It's an inspiring reminder that no matter how much life hurts, we have the capacity to find our way forward, to create a new normal, and to embrace the beauty and wonder that still exists in the world around us.
Absolutely. And it all starts with taking that first step, with choosing to embrace the Stoic principles that resonate with us and to experiment with them in our own lives.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to be a philosopher or a sage to benefit from these ancient teachings. They're for all of us, regardless of our background or beliefs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage you to reflect on what resonated with you most from Lam's story and from these Stoic principles. What one small step can you take today to cultivate greater resilience, meaning, and joy in your own life?
That's a great question to ponder. And remember, even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect, creating positive change, not only in our own lives, but in the world around us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoic philosophy. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking those nuggets of wisdom that can help you live a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
We'll see you in our next deep dive.